All right, welcome everyone. This is DGNR, Monday, January 13th at 6:31 p.m. We're in the City Hall chambers, and on this committee we have Counselor Sullivan, Counselor Ocasio. Online we have Counselor Devine and myself, the chair, Counselor Givner. I am looking at agenda item 1 with the minutes. I've been informed that they're not ready because our fearless admin assistant was out sick. So,
Counselor Bartley.
oh, sorry. Counselor Bartley, who's not on this committee, is in the chambers. Thank you. So I would like to have a motion that we table the minutes until they're complete.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, and I forgot to read the thing. So I would like to make a motion to take a roll call vote that for the purposes of this meeting would be applicable to all motions to remove an item from the table, place items on the table, package items, open or close a public hearing, or suspend the rules unless there's an objection.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to go out of order and take up item 3.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
So item 3 is a public hearing for special permit application of Marcel Gavel to operate a vehicle exhaust repair and welding business at 54 Commercial Street. Marcel is here. Would you mind if you would just state your name, your address, and speak into the microphone about your business?
Hi, my name is Marcel Gavel, as previously stated, and my business is located at 54 Commercial Street, Holyoke. And I would like to operate a muffler/welding business there, as the previous owner did.
I'm not actually familiar with the building, but I have a feeling Counselor Bartley is. Would you like to talk a little bit about it?
Well, Commercial Street.
I know, yeah, I understand the address.
So, yeah, it's the type of service that the applicant is proposing fits within the zone. So he and I and his friend, we had just a brief discussion. So I said to him, why don't you tell us what hours you want to work?
Yep.
And then why don't you tell us if you need any special signage and parking and all that. So that's basically, and then tell us a little bit about your experience too. That'd be great.
Okay. So hours of operation will be from 8 in the morning to 5 p.m., Monday through Saturday, actually. But Saturday I'll close a little early at 3 p.m. A little bit of, about the signage. So there is a sign up now, but it is dated. So I think I want to update it pretty soon, maybe this year sometime. It's right on the building, right above my overhead door. And for parking, I don't really have parking. Like, I park my truck right next to the building, but for customers, I have it by appointment, so they don't really park their car. They can drop it off, but I bring it right in. There's no parking overnight, just because it's more of like a main road. I keep everything inside. There's no parts or anything left outside. Obviously, just because it's a main road, and Gary doesn't want anything left outside. And a little bit about myself. So I was a machinist prior to becoming a welder right out of high school, and then I wanted to switch trades, so I became a welder, went to welding school. I currently work at Industrial Steel and Boiler in Chicopee, and we do commercial / like industrial work all over the state for like hospitals, universities, all kinds of applications for customers. And I had the opportunity to purchase this new business in Holyoke, and well, not really new. Tony's been there for like 20 years, so he unfortunately had a stroke, so he's not able to continue. But I'd like to continue and just provide people services like welding, muffler work, custom fabrication, and that's about it. No automotive repair in the sense of like, engine work, but strictly welding and muffler repair.
Is the space already set up for welding?
Yeah, so Tony left everything behind with like the equipment, the lift, the welding machines, all kinds of parts that I've been going through. So everything's already set up for the kind of work that I do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, is that Ward 2?
I
Yes.
believe so, yeah.
Oh,
Sewer too.
it just so happens the Ward 2 counselor's right there. How about that, Bert? Lucky you.
What a coincidence. Yeah.
Any other questions so far?
I had a question.
Counselor Ocasio?
Is your business, is it right across the street from the daycare center there?
Yeah, it's like, it's not right across, it's kind of to the side, right across the street. Yeah. Probably like a couple 100 feet right across the street. Yeah.
Okay, so, the in and out from your, clients, is it gonna interfere with when the daycare center be open? Cause you know, the school bus and,
Yeah, kids getting dropped off.
yeah, and stuff like
So
that.
it actually doesn't because I'm kind of to the side. And if I have customers arrive, they just park the vehicle right in front of my door or right next to the shop building, and then I bring it right in. But even during busy hour in the mornings when all the parents are dropping off their kids, they have no issue. They don't even they have so much parents arriving, but they don't even park in front of my shop because it's so far. So they have plenty of space. Like the school buses as well, people park on the side street as well to drop off their kids, and then also for picking them up as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
All right, and so you did receive the correspondence from planning, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So we often accept special permit applications that don't have everything required from planning, and so I would just like to take a moment and see if there's anything that we're concerned about as a committee. Counselor Sullivan?
Yeah, the only question I got, do you plan on storing any fuels or oils there?
No, I do have one thing I'd like to know. I have a waste oil heater, but I don't store any extra oil. If I need some, I obtain it from Joe next door. He works for G&H for Gary. They have these big drums that I transfer it into mine. It's not a drum, it's like a big metal container. It's part of the unit. But yeah, I don't store any oil. And if I have like spray cans or let's say used new oil for like an oil change, I have special cabinets, containers for that. Like fire rated cabinets, but none of the sort.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the only problem I would see is if it was over 1,000 gallons.
No.
So I don't think you're anywhere near that.
No, my tank for my heater is like 150, maybe 200.
Yep.
But yeah, no, not that much.
Okay, and bulk waste, do you have a dumpster or how do you?
I don't know. I have 2 trash bins, like the ones from Home Depot, but I don't really generate a lot of trash. Like, if I buy a part, it has wrapping or that kind of thing, but I don't have a dumpster at the moment, no.
Right.
Gary has one, but I've never had enough trash where I had to dump it.
All right, are you using city service or you have an outside contractor?
No, I just use Gary's if I ever have, let's say a bag or 2, I just dump it in his.
Okay.
That's fine. Anything else? All right,
Madam Chairman?
Well, did
oh,
you,
sorry. Counselor Devine?
Yeah, hi, thank you. I was just looking through, I'm assuming everybody has this letter from January 10th, 2025, from our administrative assistant.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm not sure if you want to enter that into the record or if it's already been entered into the record, but it looks like the interim city engineer had some questions, so I'm not sure if you want to, again, if this has already been entered into the record, but there are some questions that she had, so I don't know if you want me to go through this or what you would prefer. It talks about floor drains located within the building. Is that something that's there?
Counselor
Has a
Devine,
connection.
are you talking about the letter from planning or a different letter?
This letter says to Development and Government Relations Committee regarding the input of special permit application, and it's from Jeffrey Anderson Burgos.
Oh, thank you.
Should I continue?
Sure.
Again, I don't know if you got, I'm trying to think if I got this today or when I got it. So, questions that, the interim city engineer had asked were, are there floor drains located within the building interior?
No, there aren't. I don't have
Okay,
any.
okay, no need for that. And is any
you
new
mean-
outdoor, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. You mean like for like rainwater drainage or like for what exactly?
I'll just read what she says. Are floor drains located within the building interior? And if so, has the connection to city sanitary sewer been previously approved for proposed uses? You don't have any and you don't have any need for that, so
No.
I'm assuming that's fine. And then the second one was, is any new outdoor storage proposed? And it says, if yes, a review of the site drainage. I don't think that applies here as well.
No.
Okay, does the site currently or it is proposed to include the aggregate above-ground oil storage capacity? I don't believe that applies as well from what you've said. And is secondary containment in accordance with the requirements of 40 CFR 112 provided for all above-ground storage of oil and other hazardous materials? I don't think that applies as well. And if any building addition or other site work proposed, is there any?
No.
Okay, great, thank you. That answers the questions that were on that sheet. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anything else, Counselor Sullivan? No? All right. What's the will of the body here?
Just, Madam Chair,
Yes?
I believe this is a public hearing. I don't know if we opened the public hearing.
Oh, I don't think we did.
So I thought, no, just small potatoes.
No, you're right.
But just open the public hearing and then do what you gotta do.
Can I hear a motion?
So motion to open a public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
So is anyone here from the public to speak about 54 Commercial Street? I don't see anyone online. Jeffrey, do you see anyone online that I don't?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the public hearing is closed.
And then I may?
Yes?
Yeah, I think you got a great applicant here, Madam Chair and committee. I think you just have to put in a couple caveats into the special permit. And really the main one I heard was just hours of operation. So it sounds like Monday through Saturday, 8 to,
5.
8 to 5.
okay, all right, 8 to 5.
Yep.
And
So,
I don't
yeah.
think there's anything else, is there?
I have hours are 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, 8 to 3 on Saturday. That this is for, let's see, there will be no engine work. All vehicles will be stored inside, no overnight parking, no hazardous waste storage. Does that sound right?
Correct.
Yeah, Madam Chair, would you mind just leaving it 8 to 5 Monday through Saturday, just in case there's a little overage,
Yeah, sure.
if you don't mind? I mean, he can close whenever he wants, of course, but.
Can't
sometimes it-
open.
Sometimes it just to be a little. more
All right,
helpful.
so 8 to 5 Monday through Saturday.
Thanks.
Okay. And
So I'd make a motion to approve the special permits with the aforementioned additions.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 So this will be recommended to City Council for approval.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just a point of order.
Madam Chair,
Yes, everyone?
No, Jeff, go. Jeff, go first.
just quickly, could you repeat the other conditions? I heard no outside parking. You said something about engines as well, so I just want to make sure I have them all down correctly.
Sure. So we had the hours 8 to 5 Monday through Saturday. No engine work. That all vehicles will be stored inside. No overnight parking and no hazardous waste storage.
All right, that works. Thank you.
Counselor Devine, did you have your
Chair?
hand up?
Yeah, just a quick question. Since this is a public hearing, I think you may want to ask if there's anybody in the audience. Again, I can't see the audience, but that would like to speak
Counselor
in
Devine?
favor of this. Yes,
Counselor Devine, we already opened and closed the public hearing.
I know, but I didn't hear you ask if there was anybody in the audience or on Zoom that wanted to speak in favor or against the petition.
Okay, well, I did, Jeffrey did check online and we checked in the chambers as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, I must have missed that. Thank
So
you.
that's okay.
Madam Chair?
Counselor Bartley?
Mr. Chair, to the applicant, so just because the chair knows this, but just a reminder that we'll take a vote on this next Tuesday, and assuming it goes well, there's a 20-day appeal period, and then after that runs its course, then you go see the clerk, and her office is outside here, take a left, and there she is, and you go see the clerk for your permit, okay?
Okay.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next.
Motion to take up number 4.
Can we take up number 2 by chance? 'Cause
Oh,
he's here.
yeah, look who made it. Welcome.
Unless, is 4 gonna be fast? Because it's 4,
It should be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
yeah, then that's good. Poor Ms. LaFlame's been here more than
All
we'd
right.
like to. Okay, then we'll take Ms. Jacobs next.
So for second,
Well,
second for,
oh, second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Item 4, special permit application of Daniel Flam to operate a light truck repairing detail center at 41 Temple. So the public hearing was closed last time, and this was sent back to committee specifically for following up with some items, I imagine, from planning. Was there anything else?
That's all it was, if I remember right. So if planning board still had its meeting open, I thought that was it. And
Right.
then what we didn't want to be, as you and I discussed that night, whenever it was in December, we said, hold your horses. But the committee voted 3-2 to move it forward.
Right.
But now it's back here. So I guess you just need to hear from the planning board to make sure that everything's copacetic.
And this is the same December 10th letter that was original. Did, Mr. LaFlamme, did you submit additional information to planning since the last meeting? Okay. Well, I'm not sure. So there's no change. It's back with no changes, and we're waiting to hear specifically from planning. And they're not here, and I don't have any updates from them. Counselor Devine, is your hand still up, or is it up
Yes,
again?
yes, please. Just, I'm wondering
Sure.
if our administrative assistant reached out at all to planning, and if they've gotten in touch with him. It's a shame to keep holding up this
Yeah.
permit.
I couldn't agree more.
It was my understanding from the council meeting is that this was sent back because the conditions needed to be more specific than referencing the letter.
Then of the items that needed to be addressed, like I think it was just the lighting. Let me look at my notes.
Yeah, because there was a letter from Attorney Mantaleski
Yeah,
stating that the conditions needed to be specific.
and I also have a note that we sent it back to DGR for planning input. So I'm under the impression we're waiting for information from the planning department too.
Well,
Counselor Bartley.
yeah, I just, what is it, Jeff? Where's Ms. Mantalewski's letter? Is it in the packet? Jeff?
It's not in the packet. It was my understanding the planning letter from before was what was going to be used this evening.
Yeah.
Okay, but did you reattach it to your email on the other day for the DGR meeting?
Are you talking the planning letter or Ms. Mantaleski's letter?
Ms. Mantalewski's letter.
I did not. I apologize. I thought it was the planning letter that was going to be relevant, so that's my mistake. I can quickly try to pull it up and screen share it.
Oh, that's a great idea. You could. Yes, it's number 8, Madam Chair, on the planning board letter, so maybe Ms. Laflamme can address.
Is it the lighting? You need information on lighting?
Yeah, so Mr.
Okay. I do, if this is the same one as she.
Yes, okay, so, I don't, okay, so, I mean, you can just walk through it as a chair. I mean, just walk through the planning board stuff here. I think most of it's been
I have to get another copy.
checked.
Just gave my copy away, sorry.
I believe last time there was a question about the lighting.
Yeah.
It was on the plot plan, but I guess it was,
Well, the only thing about the lighting, Mr. Flam says at number 8, all lighting in the site should be shielded from the abutting properties. Okay,
Right.
Is that something you can?
there's 3 motion lights, like they're residential motion lights,
Oh,
they're very small.
So then, check the box, that's done. So where's he coming up with this?
There's no commercial lighting there at all.
Okay, bulk waste, you have a bulk waste container?
No, we're not generating waste.
Here it is.
Well, there's a provision in the city ordinance that says motor vehicle repair garages. Are you considered a motor vehicle repair garage?
Yes, technically, yes.
Well, right, so it says, you may need to get, if you don't have it, you're gonna have to get a waiver from the planning board.
Okay.
Because it's a requirement of city ordinances, if you're a motor vehicle repair entity, you're supposed to have a bulk waste container.
Okay.
I mean, it's just one of the
Yeah.
deals, okay?
It's, with the Department of Environmental, there was a portion of that license or it was like a 17-page, thing, anyway, application. There was only, if you only generate with, you can give the oil back to like AutoZone, when they bring the oil to you, they can take it back. Anything over 5 gallons or, I think it's like 10 or 15 gallons, not to be transported over the road. But the oil company, the auto parts store will take the oil back.
So they'll pick it up?
Correct.
Oh,
So there's no need for, no big tank we won't be generating any type nor near anything like that.
okay, so so this letter is dated December 10th to the chair. I mean, and you would have received a copy of this, true?
I'm not sure, to be honest, I don't remember actually.
Okay, so I'm going to say that after receiving a special permit, a license to, okay, I got to be true. I mean, I think you've got all these boxes checked, other than number 9, which because there's no stockpiling outside. The signage is good. Is there a sidewalk there?
There is actually, yes.
Okay, all right. So you just got to make sure it's not blocked.
Absolutely,
That's
yes.
all.
Correct.
And then, yeah, so I mean, truthfully, Madam Chair, I think you can, I'll defer to Mike if Mike's online or one of the lawyers. Yeah, Mike's online, but to me, it looks like you're pretty good shape.
I mean, the notes I have here from the last meeting were that the conditions had to be met before the special permit could be granted, the conditions from planning. And so all the conditions from planning are in that December 10th letter. And I think the biggest questions we had at the time there were some things about the drawing and showing how many parking spaces you have on the site, but it was also about lighting, which you said has been taken care of. So, but yeah, Attorney Bissonnette, are you available to speak on this?
Sure. Good evening. Thank you. I just want to know the context in which Attorney Mandaleski looked at this was due to a provision in your granting of the special permit that basically said comply with the letter of December 10th from the planning board.
Oh, that's right.
And there's no mechanism to determine whether or not the applicant actually did that. So that was her objection to the manner in which that was done. If you're satisfied or have confirmation from the planning board that those conditions have been met, then you can go ahead and issue.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, Madam Chair?
Counselor Bartley?
I'm not 100% sure the planning board inspects it, but I think
Right.
the applicant can make a affirmative statement to the planning board relative to all of all those paragraphs, and he can do that prior to our next meeting. And if for some reason that doesn't satisfy the planning board, then we'll have to send it back here again. So I think you can move this forward to next week.
Okay.
I think you can, because, I mean, he's here, he's got the letter. Why he didn't seem to have the letter a month ago is beyond me, but it doesn't matter. Mr. Flam will review all that. I think you've got everyone nailed, other than one, and you just have to talk to Mr. Burkott in planning. And as we've discussed many times, who knows what planning has voted on? Who knows what they
Right.
do? Because we haven't had minutes for them online for 3 years. So, another reason why we need meeting minutes. But I think you're on safe ground to move this ahead.
Okay. We feel fine with that? Committee?
Okay, so motion to reapprove the special permit.
Good job,
send
Mike.
it to- Send it to the
Second.
council.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you for your patience, Mr. Laflamme. We will send this to the full city council again.
Okay. So motion to take up item number 2.
Oh, Ms. Jacobs.
Do I hear a second?
Suspend,
All
and motion to suspend our rules and invite Ms. Jacobs in.
Hi, Ms. Jacobs. Do we have to suspend the rules to also allow Ms. Jacobs to speak?
So
No, we
right.
don't have to.
Okay.
She's invited in.
Just making sure.
No.
So item 2, we have the pleasure of having our District 8 Governor's Counselor in the building. Tara Jacobs is here and will speak to us about what's happening at the Governor's Council. Thank you, Counselor Bartley, for
Remember
the
to set
inviting.
up? Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, for taking this up. I greatly appreciate you and the committee for doing this. So this is something when we changed this committee around 10 years ago, we changed it to have people from outside, but have relations to Holyoke, come and talk to us so we could learn from them. So we've been doing this for a while. So Ms. Jacobs is, from Eddie O'Brien to Judge Merrigan to Mike Abeno to Judge Hurley. I mean, there's been quite a good run of governor's counselors for Western Mass. So I think Ms. Jacobs has been in office 3 years.
Entering my third.
Entering her third year. So entering her third year, and so this makes it really exciting to have her here with us. And really, the only thing I like to, I mean, I don't really have a million questions, but I just want to hear from, and let the public hear from Ms. Jacobs. Tell us about yourself a little bit for sure. Tell us about the Governor's Council. Tell us about how it relates to Holyoke. Certainly Holyoke District Court would come to mind, but who knows what else. And then anything else from there. So, and she's been pretty active, pretty forceful vote and voice too, if you read that stuff like I do, relative to judges and sticking up for Western Mass. So, end of my speech.
Thank you.
Do I have to hit a button? Or
Oh, yeah, so there's,
Well, first, thank you for the invitation to come and speak to you and share. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for your patience in my late arrival. The drive was a little nutty. It's snowing on Route 2, and then I got stuck behind a salting plow thing.
oh, no, fine.
But I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here in person. I think that's a good place to start. So, my name is Tara Jacobs. I am entering my second term on the Governor's Council, representing 102 cities and towns across all of Western Mass and a little bit of Worcester County. And for those not familiar with Governor's Council, it's always good to start with a brief description of what it is that we do. We are an elected office that was outlined in the original Constitution of Massachusetts and actually existed in a slightly different form even before that. So very old institution, and is a constitutional office in the executive branch. And our role is to give advice and consent to the governor on many, many things. And the ones that people, if they've heard of Governor's Council, most often have heard of are we confirm all of the judges in the state. So the governor nominates and we give that advice and consent and decide whether it goes or not. Also clerk magistrates and members of the parole board. And the parole board serves two functions, is also the advisory board of pardons. And so clemency requests from the governor in the form of pardons and commutations also come to council for our final decision on the matter. There's a bunch of other things that we do, but those are kind of the big ones. In my first term, the Healy administration sent for and council confirmed over 50 judges. 5 of those were from Western Mass. In this new term, we still have a number of Western Mass judicial openings in Berkshire County and Hampden County, and at Superior and District Court. Some of the other courts are less fixed on region, so they may end up here if they're from here, but I know some of the courts are going to be very active in the next year. Juvenile court, we just received a couple of nominations, and I think there's a number coming. It would be wonderful if one of those ended up sitting out here. But ultimately, once we're done confirming, it's the trial courts that decide from there. I did come prepared to talk about a couple of things and then answer any questions you have, and I can share what the topics are, and you tell me if that sounds like what you're interested in hearing.
Sounds good.
I was going to talk about the judicial postings, Western Mass and otherwise. And then I was going to talk about some of the work I've been doing around the pardon process and an event that I held recently. And then whatever questions you have. If there's something else more specific that I don't talk about.
No, I think just understanding what the role of a governor's counselor is for the general public is really helpful, and having you here to tell us a little bit about what you do is great.
Great, okay. Well, I won't belabor it, but I did want to share. So, I, as the representative for District 8 Western Mass, spent a lot of time advocating for resources for Western Mass and pushing for our open seats to be filled. The 5 that we did have over the last term actually was, we did pretty well. Having said that, I don't feel satisfied until they're all filled, and we still do have a number that need filling. Some of the challenges that Western Mass faces in the judicial filling process is one, Western Mass in the applicant pool, so people apply to become a judge. The Western Mass pool of applicants is much more shallow than the Eastern Mass. And I'm talking single digits number of applicants in Western Mass versus hundreds in the Eastern Seaboard.
Oh, wow.
So that's the first challenge. The second being, those in the 495 or 128 circle can be, regardless of where they live, they can easily commute up and down. Mm-hmm. So it just exacerbates the difference in that, you're not going to nominate someone who lives in Essex to come out to Western Mass and sit in a court and vice versa. So those are just some of the logistics that historically we've always faced and to some degree always will face. Trying to combat that, I've spent time working with each of I have technically 5 counties, but really the Western Mass counties of Berkshire, Franklin, Hampshire, and Hampden, working with their bar associations to do events called Pathway to the Bench, which is about demystifying the process for the legal community in how does one become a judge in this state, what's the process of applying, there's a number of steps along the way, and really encouraging applicants. One of the first ones I held did result in an application that was one of our first nominees. So it's been a successful process. Having said that, I intend to do that again into this coming year with the extra combination of not just encouraging applicants, but a second component of a collaborative meeting of the minds between our bar associations and the governor's legal office and talking about the process itself. There are some historically, we're disadvantaged in some ways because a lot of the process happens in Boston. There's some decision makers in each step along the way that are recruited and is very heavy towards Boston. So I want to see more representation from Western Mass, and there's some challenges around that. So we want to collaboratively brainstorm on how to make it a more accessible process for Western Mass. And there's also some elements of the legal community's culture around really encouraging new talent to think about becoming a judge and supporting people in the process. It's a grueling process. But that kind of outreach work maybe won't fully flip what has been a systemic imbalance in how the state handles this process, but hopefully can help make it a little more accessible and a little more equitable. So I've been putting some efforts around that.
Just a second. So we have Counselor Israel Rivera now online, and Counselor Anderson Burgos has joined us. Did you have a question for now, Izzy, Counselor Rivera, or could you wait?
I could wait till she's done.
Okay. Same question, Counselor Devine?
I can wait as well, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Counselor Anderson Burgos?
I just wanted to state for the record, I've actually been here since the meeting started.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Of course, no, it's okay, thank you.
I've been here a little while too.
Everybody's here.
So last thing I want to say about judicial before I move on to other things is that for our statewide courts and boards, so the Supreme Judicial Court, the Appeals Court, and the Parole Board are the top ones that come to mind. There's some other sort of judiciary boards that aren't courts or that, but for all of them where it's statewide, something I've really been focusing on is advocating for Western Mass to have a seat at all of those tables, a voice at all of those tables. The Appeals Court has 25 judges, and 3 currently are from Western Mass. Having said that, Hampden County doesn't have a judge in the Appeals Court, and I have been advocating for that. I do want to contextualize the decision-making process prioritizes, and I think it's appropriate, prioritizes the most exceedingly qualified over regional representation. So I've been encouraging people to apply and encouraging them to consider those who I know have applied. But, you know, in addition to qualifications, another priority when nominating to that court is to create a diverse balance of judges from multiple standpoints, probably starting with their area of legal practice. So we've just recently added somebody from juvenile court, somebody from a lot of work around Innocence Project type work. And so I think the third consideration is things like regional equity. So it is something I continue to try to influence on, and I'm hopeful that we will see a nomination that adds to our Western Mass representation.
And Madam Chair, would you mind if I just interject for a second?
Sure.
Just, so those that are lawyers kind of get it, but those are non-lawyers sometimes don't. So in Massachusetts, we have a SJC, the Supreme Judicial Court, and below them is relatively new, is our Massachusetts Court of Appeals. And that's a big deal. And below that is the Superior Court, which is a big deal. And below that, I don't know how many district courts there are. There's 50 or 60 of them. I mean, that's a big deal. Then we have probate and family court, which is another part. And we have housing court division. And then you heard Ms. Jacobs say the juvenile court. So there's a lot of courts in.
And also Boston Municipal Court, which is basically district court, but it's Boston's own brand, and
Okay.
then land court,
And, okay, land
which
court.
often gets ignored, but it is
No,
important.
in my area, land court's big. So there's a lot of opportunities, and of course, it's about education. And the last time I saw Ms. Jacobs was at a training for parole work, parole petitions and commutation. So she's doing that as well. And what a panel that was. I mean, it was at Winnick, and there were probably like 80 people there. It's pretty good. So, and the lunch was tremendous. And so, I mean, she's doing a lot of stuff. And the governor's counselor has its arms around a lot of things. So I just wanted to sort of throw that context out there.
I actually wanted to ask, when you say you're working on like regional equity, so are you saying that most of the qualified applicants live in the eastern part of the state, or that people are just not applying as much to the western part of the state, regardless of where they live?
There's an issue around the number of applicants that we have. We're just at a sort of a unfair comparison in terms of volume.
Okay.
So it just, in terms of statistical probabilities, it makes it that much harder when we don't have.
Well, we're less populated, so we have less people.
We are less populated. I think also it's, there's issues around commute. So, our Western Mass members of the appeals court, they meet in Boston, and quite a slog to be there for, a 9 a.m. set of hearings. You want to get there early and prep, and so they're on the road at like 4 and 5 in the morning. It's a lot to ask of a person. So there's aspects that are just part of the dynamics, and then there are some elements that I'm hoping we can affect change around as well. An interesting side note around the appeals court that I'm gonna go get statistics on, but it was just a conversation I had about the docket of cases that the appeals court receives. Is the perception anyway of the various people I was talking to, is that from a cultural standpoint, Western Mass is availing itself of the appeals court less frequently than the Boston area does, which is an interesting thought, and I'm going to track it down to see if it's borne out by statistics. But the conversation I was having was around sort of the culture of challenging through appeals. And I think travel probably played a part in that to a degree in terms of culture. These days, there is, remote accessibility in a way that never existed before COVID. So, but whether or not that's changed behavior in making use of that legal process, I'm not sure. I did want to talk about the event that we held in Springfield, and my hope for the outcome of that. So like I mentioned, one of the things that is under Governor's Council is weighing in on clemency applications in the form of pardons and commutations. And in an effort to encourage people who are needful of a pardon or a commutation, particularly focusing on pardons, I held an event called Pathway to Pardons in Springfield in November. And it was a 2-panel discussion around how does one apply for a pardon in Massachusetts? What are the stages of decision making and the decision makers weighing in on the governor's guidelines around clemency decision making and the criteria and eligibility factors, and how ultimately we make our decisions on when to approve at council. So there's 3 parts to that process, and each of the 3 perspectives was voiced by members of those entities that do the reviews and the recommendations to the governor, and then ultimately council, who makes the decision on whether to grant it or not. The entire goal was to encourage people to understand the process and to make use of it, because I've seen numbers somewhere around 700,000 people, like 700,000. It's a lot of people in this state could benefit from a pardon, whether it's like creating a query check problem, or some of the people who we've granted pardons to recently were senior citizens who the crime was committed when they were teenagers, but they're literally looking for senior housing, and because of the federal funding, having a felony on their record or a misdemeanor in some cases on their record was actually creating a huge obstacle to them having affordable housing in their elder years. There's been a number of applications for things around, the immigration barriers, or education barriers, employment barriers, a number of factors where, in almost every case, the crime that has been lingering through their lives was one that was committed while they were still in that teenager, early adulthood, cognitive development still happening phase of life, and now decades later is creating still an impediment to full success and thriving in life. And having said that, in the last 3 years, it's gone up slightly each year, but under 100 people have applied for clemency, about 40 for pardons last year, and about 60 for commutations. And considering the numbers of people out there who could benefit, that's incredibly tiny number. And so that was the reason for having the event, was in the hopes that with more education and understanding of the process, more people might apply and may be able to get a pardon, particularly with this administration that is so very much attuned to the power of the tool that clemency is in our judicial system, and using pardons and commutations to course correct the systemic injustices and biases that we know exist in our judicial system, and particularly as it applies to marginalized communities where there's implicit biases that have resulted in either overcharging or oversentencing or other miscarriages of justice. Using clemency as a tool to really course correct and give those second chances to people who are deserving of them. So the governor is inclined to do it. I'm very happy when we see pardons come through and be able to participate in that. Some of the most meaningful work we do at council that genuinely, immediately, and in a very meaningful way impacts people's lives. So I'm hopeful that the event was recorded by Focus Springfield. I'm hoping that it will be disseminated and shared in public access government channels across the state, and it's up on YouTube right now. And I've already been receiving emails. There's been very few views and yet almost as many emails. So it's interesting. The people that are watching it are people that want to know the information and are actually interested in applying for a pardon and asking me questions about more granular things. But I am very hopeful that next year the statistics will have really grown in terms of how many people have applied and ideally how many we've been able to grant. So that's really all the things that I had on my list to talk to you about, but I'm happy to answer questions if you have them.
Counselor Sullivan?
So, in this process, I understand, where you're out trying to recruit and find people willing to be judges. One of the problems that I see a lot of is the judges we do have, they're not using the tools that we have, particularly around people that have been affected, where they've lost control of their lives. They're on heroin, fentanyl. Just last week, sleeping out here in the cold in the doorway in the building next to City Hall, sleeping and defecating and using our parking garages, and they appear in front of the judges and then they're released. Now we have treatment programs, right, that the judges can put them in, and they seem very, very reluctant to do it. And there's, to me, a fine difference between compassion, right, and that line gets crossed when you're no longer being compassionate. You're enabling the suffering of these individuals to continue, and also the dramatic effect that they're having on the lives of other people in the community around them and the businesses and everybody else affected. We've been told by Sheriff Kochi, and there's plans down in Norfolk County that have been very, very successful, that have much lower recidivism rates when they're put into these programs. And for some reasons, our judges seem reluctant to use this tool. Is there any way in your role that you can bring some influence on the existing judges or bring more judges into the fold that are willing to take serious action to really help these people? And they've clearly lost control of their lives. This is not, about taking away people's liberties. It's about actually using the system to help these people.
In answer to your first question, once someone is confirmed as a judge, it's a lifetime appointment until a mandatory retirement at 70. And we have after we confirm them as a yes, they're a judge, all administrative aspects are then the trial courts to administer. So we have no managerial or oversight over judges who are sitting the bench. Unless they apply for another court, then they come back to council for confirmation. So if a district court judge applies for a superior court, or a superior court judge applies for appeals court, or what have you, then we will see them again and have an opportunity to vet them for that application. Having said that, even in those instances, if for whatever reason we don't confirm that person to whatever court they're applying to, they are still a judge in the court that they are currently a judge at. And so we have no oversight from that standpoint. I hear you though, and I think we need a lot of advocacy around resources, especially in Western Mass. I am often boggled by some of the amazing resources that are available, and the number of resources that collaborate and are available as you go farther east. So it's a statewide problem. It's particularly a problem out here, and I will say I think things have at least from my vantage point, have improved somewhat in more resources than we had 10 years ago, but not nearly enough for what the need is.
And beyond that too, we see the same thing. I guess what you're telling me applies the same. We see people that are convicted of violent crimes, especially around firearms here in the city, and they're back out on the street the same day.
Mm.
How?
That are convicted of violent crimes and back out the same day?
Yeah, like that. It's unbelievable. It's just ridiculous. How is this happening with the? I mean, this has got to fall on the judges.
Yeah. I'm not aware of situations you're talking about where someone is convicted of a felony and released and not sentenced. So I'm aware of situations where during pretrial, like during bail situations, people are out, but they unless there's a dangerousness aspect. So I'm saying once convicted, I'm surprised to hear that. I'm not aware of that, so I really can't even speak to it. I'm not aware of people who are convicted of serious violent crimes who are not ending up sentenced and imprisoned.
Well, I could spend all night on it, but I might be phrasing it a little bit wrong, or I'm not a lawyer myself.
Neither am I.
All right, but especially around the weapons charges, where they've had previous convictions, they're picked up again. It's clearly a violation of probation, and here they are, back out on the street again and again and again. I just don't understand it. It seems to me that it's the judges that are falling down on the job.
I'm sure it includes the rest of the judicial system, from policing to charging at the DA level to the courts, and then it's all a pipeline of justice that marches on. But without specifics, and again, not a lawyer, so I try to avoid really diving in on the work that is done by our judges, other than from the standpoint of the work that I do is more around vetting who they are, what their experiences are, what their qualifications are, what their resume is, but who they are as a human, who they are as a person, And but those types of questions inform the kinds of questions I'm asking very much. We end up spending, depends on the court we're talking about, but district and superior court, where we're talking about the criminal side, spend a lot of time talking about things like, especially at the district court, which is a community court, so very much steeped in the community that it is serving, and the resources should be understood that exist in the communities that a district court is surrounded by. Things like diversionary programs, things like mental health and substance abuse programming, things like domestic violence programming that exists, and availing itself of directing people to ideally the kinds of programming that can really go to the root causes of why people are showing up, especially in district court, where it's usually the first step in somebody's judicial involvement is district.
Yeah, and just so I understand, so once the judge has gone through the process and is officially installed as a judge, you have very little input after that. He can't be censured, removed, pressure brought to
Not by
bear on
us, not by us. I think there is judicial oversight, but it really has to rise to a very significant level before anyone it impacts a judge. The Governor's Council does not have any oversight over judges once they are confirmed and sworn in. They are a judge, they have a lifetime appointment, like I said, a lifetime with a retirement at 70. Although judges can be recalled. So there are some judges who are post-retirement who are still sitting because we have these positions that need to be filled, and so the recall judges help make sure our courts continue to operate as efficiently as possible. But no, there's a difference between control and influence or persuasion, right? And so we are able to speak to it, and I think we're heard when we, especially in Governor's Council chambers during hearings, if we talk about a situation, the courts are listening. What happens with that? It's not a measure of control that we have. We can't course correct, but we can definitely speak to the values that we'd like to see reflected back in our court system, and I know that is heard.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Rivera? Are you still there, Councilor Rivera?
Yeah, I'm here. It took me a little
Sorry.
while for a little thing to come up so I can unmute. First, I wanna thank Ms. Jacobs for coming all the way from a far distance and checking us out just to like inform us and give the community a breakdown of what she does. So before this, real quick question: what did you do?
Professionally?
Yes, professionally. My bad.
Okay. Well, so I had a career in advertising, where the role that I played was a strategic one. So brand planning, which is writing the communication strategy, the messaging strategy, creative briefs for advertising, informed by consumer insight. So market research about understanding people and their values and beliefs, and writing the strategy.
And historically, governors, counselors have always been people with that type of background?
I may be the first. It's very possible. Typically, historically, going back, it was frequently lawyers in this position. Although, even looking back about 15 years ago, it was about half and half. There was a 4 and 4 lawyers, 4 non-lawyers. In terms of the background of those people, I couldn't speak to it. But when I left my career in advertising, I focused heavily on doing good work in the community, which included I'm in my 3rd term on school committee in my city of North Adams, and I'm the chair of our library trustees, and I've served on a number of boards and steering committees, and other entities that were focused on doing good things at the local level since moving to Western Mass.
Oh, thank you again. So I guess for me, just kind of pointing that out is when you had won it, I found it interesting that it was like different, right? It wasn't the same customary type of candidate or person coming in to step into the seat. It was going to be a different perspective. Also, really appreciate a lot of the work you're doing around the clemency and the pardons stuff. As an ex-felon for myself, maybe one day I'd like to be pardoned too, just because it provides a different level of citizenship. I can actually own a gun legally. I can actually get a liquor license. I can actually do certain things at levels where I can actually open different businesses and do different ventures. And I have a ton of different friends that have ventured into different realms where they've been met with different barriers because of their past life, even though they don't live that lifestyle anymore. So I just kind of wanted to recognize that and say thank you for a lot of the work that you've been doing.
I appreciate that, and I encourage you to put your application in.
We'll figure that out one step at a time.
Thank you, Councilor Rivera. Councilor Devine?
Yes, hi. First of all, Tara, thank you so much for coming in tonight. I know you've got a long drive ahead of you, so I won't hold you up too much. But I wanted to let people know what a huge victory you had in 2022, where you actually, in the primary, you beat 3 attorneys from Springfield, which to me is a feat in itself, and that was unbelievable. Then in your next primary, you also won with 61% of the vote, which I thought was excellent, and that also was 2022. And then we come up to the next one for 2024, and you won by 99.4% of the vote. And I know that you're not going to pat yourself on the back, but I want to tell you, just as a woman, just as a non-attorney, I am so thrilled for you and what you were able to accomplish, and I would just like to congratulate you and tell you to keep up the good work.
Wow, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Devine. Councilor Anderson Burgos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tara, I just personally want to thank you for making your way all the way to our lovely city of Holyoke. For all the work that you do, I've met you many, many times, and I wish I was in chambers tonight to give you a good, well-deserved handshake. And again, thank you for your service to every community around. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I could have chosen, I guess, to Zoom in, but I really am happy to be here in person. It really means a lot that to get the invitation and to be able to spend this time and share with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Rivera, did you have something else? Or is that a leftover hand?
Leftover hand.
Okay, thank you. All right, I don't see any other questions. Do we have any other questions? Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, no questions. I know that Mr. Jacobs got a long ride home. I worked on and off in North Adams for about over 5 years, so there's no easy way to get there. So thank you for coming out.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's
really
a pleasure to see you all and to be able to share and let me know when there's other opportunities to connect. I really much value the opportunity and the ability to come out and work together on our judicial issues.
Thank you. I did start watching your panel discussion, so it's very interesting. I haven't gotten through them yet, but because it is a language I don't understand, but it is important to dive into things you don't know much about, so I appreciate all the work you're doing.
Well, I literally this month have on my agenda plan. I'm planning to visit the Holyoke District and the Holyoke Juvenile Court. I did visit the Juvenile Court last month, but it was for actually, it was wonderful. It was for Adoption Day, National Adoption Day, which
Oh, wow.
is really a really fun day to visit. But I want to come back for a typical day. It's a great introduction though to come on a day that is just filled with amazing, emotional, wonderful moments being formed for families that are finally being able to call each other their own.
Yeah, and
Councilor
the chair
Bartley?
raises a great point too, just because we do talk a foreign language quite often, and it's not fair. So we have to do a better job at that as well.
It's interesting. That's one of them when I'm vetting judicial nominees. Access to justice is a big topic of conversation, and a big component of that is around, well, there's many components, but a big component is around language. So people often think when I say language, I'm talking about translation services, interpreter services, which is very important and needed and a big part of access to justice. But another part is literally just conveying legalese for the layperson, and making sure judges are able to do that.
And since you come from
We
a
have so
different
many
background,
self-represented. If you don't have a lawyer, you need to be able to understand what's happening, right? So it's
Well,
important.
I think coming from a different background other than a legal background really helps with having, the patience and the want to convey things in a way that everyone can understand. So I think it's appreciated by many. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
for coming.
Well, I guess that order is going to be complied with.
So moved.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Let me get a handshake
Email,
in.
which bounced back to my text and doesn't work. You
Yeah,
can't do that.
shake her hand.
Yeah, oh, thank you for having me, really, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really great, yeah, so,
Thanks for your questions.
yeah, absolutely. So
You know, when you start to really think about all the problems in our communities, it becomes overwhelming, there's so much. So I kind of carve out my zone to stay in, but everything you brought up, these are.
anytime you want to do this again, we'll do it.
Thank you so much. Drive carefully.
Drive
And I'm
safely.
safe.
Alrighty. So, can I get a motion?
Motion to take up item number
Yeah.
5.
Did I get a second?
Second.
Use your microphone.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, item 5, special permit application for Solomar Realty. And we have tabled this a bunch of times. The public hearing was closed. I have a communication that an email was received waiving the 90-day action deadline. So that's on its way either to legal or has just been received by legal. So it's my understanding that we are to table this. I'm gonna next time leave it laid on the table until we get a new communication from Levesque Associates, so that we don't keep taking it up every meeting. So does that sound okay?
I think at some point we got to put an end to this. I think it can refile or something. It's been going on since June of 23.
Well,
I mean, we're looking at over 18 months now.
yeah. Well, I don't know how long it takes to build something, so.
Well, that's not the bill. This is the applicant themselves is just postpone.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure there was a reason we were keeping it in committee. I don't have a note specifically on that reason, but it's my understanding the only way to withdraw an application is if the person who filed the application withdraws it themselves. I don't think we can just withdraw it for them. So we can either deny it or we can leave it in committee, and next time it'll be laid on the table so it just doesn't come up until we need to deal with it again.
So what do we want to do now?
Table it.
Okay. Motion to table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that's tabled.
Motion to take up item number 6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So item 6, order that OPED please provide an update on the former Kmart Plaza. So that's also come up a couple times now. It's my recommendation that this order be complied with. I mean, This is a privately owned space. We have looked into what's going on with it. We don't have any new news. I have reached out to OPED. I understand Councilor Bartley has tried to reach out to Transformco. As far as getting an update as to what's going on there, what we do know is that there's no back taxes on the property and there's no new owner. So as far as I'm concerned, the order itself is complied with because that's what we were asking about.
Can you add me to that?
Sure. So can we add Councilor Ocasio to this item 6? But
I would,
sorry, go ahead.
if I may.
Mhm.
Yep. So I also know some other potential buyers have reached out to Transformco and not received calls back as well.
Right.
There is a lot of agitation among the public as to what is not going on there and for how long nothing has been going on there. In that regards, we do have a proposed ordinance change that would make it more difficult for large property owners like this to leave properties vacant. This will be coming up in ordinance. I hope we have it in front of the full city council. But when you're sitting on spaces of 10, 15, 20,000 square feet, the vacant building fee, an increase in that only, and this is only for commercial properties. Would not affect any residential or multifamily properties. It's just specifically for this type of action. Here we have a out-of-state billionaire as a property owner, and they've decided just to sit on it, not return phone calls. We do have potential developers interested in it. They can't even get a call back. So this is a good opportunity for us to bring a little bit more weight of the city on it. For the public's information, we do see a lot of public outcry. Why doesn't the city do something about it? But when a company is or any entity is paying its taxes and chooses just to keep the building vacant, as long as they're in compliance with the rest of the codes, there's not a heck of a lot that the city can do.
Right. Yeah, thanks for that. That's a good point, Councilor Sullivan. I do see Aaron Vega online from OPED. Did you have something to add to this, Aaron?
No. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Councilor. So I think Councilor Sullivan hit part of the nail on the head. There is very little leverage the city can do. So we share their frustration. I'm a resident here as well as working for the city. So we've referred many calls over to Transformco. There's been a couple times we've had some okay conversations with lower level employee staff, probably more their broker types as well. But yeah, it's challenging, but I will say there is someone, talking with them. They've been talking about since September. So these deals do take a long time. So all this stuff takes a long time, but I'm hopeful. But I also asked them if they would consider taking down some of the property, and they, maybe not even the Kmart specifically, but even the old grocery store parts. But they weren't interested in doing that at their cost at this point. So we're trying, but it's on our radar for sure, obviously. So we share the frustration, but it's also challenging. Retail is not what it was. We have some empty spaces at the mall. It's also other ideas. Could it be housing? Could it be something else? We'd like to keep it, for the taxes at a higher rate, but that end of it could also be a good residential spot, right by the highway, amenities right there, walking distance to a grocery store, on the bus line. So who knows? But obviously having something that has jobs would be good as well. So it's on our radar. We refer inquiries to it, but nothing has gone forward yet.
Thank you, Aaron. Did we have any other questions regarding this? No? All right.
Motion that the order's been complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Motion to take up item number 7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So item 7 from Councilor Anderson Burgos, a resolution that the Holyoke City Council, which represents the greatest number of Puerto Ricans per capita than any other community in the country outside the island, votes to condemn the quote of floating island of garbage statement made at the political rally of a candidate seeking to represent every American, including those who live in and come from Puerto Rico. This statement was insulting, ignorant, and dismissive of the culture and contributions of Puerto Ricans. And I have the resolution here. And so I'm going to read this into the record. So, resolution condemning floating island of garbage statement at political rally. Whereas the Holyoke City Council represents the community with the greatest number of Puerto Ricans per capita of any community outside Puerto Rico, and whereas the rally was held and hosted by a candidate seeking to represent every single American, including those who live in and come from Puerto Rico, and whereas the Holyoke City Council should be committed to protecting this community's residents from racist sentiments and acts targeting residents based on their identities, and whereas there should be no place in civil discourse for making jokes that degrade people for who they are or where they come from, and whereas American citizens who live on the island of Puerto Rico and elsewhere around the country have made incredible contributions to their communities and country for generations, including honorable service in the armed forces. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Holyoke, Massachusetts condemns the statement made by Tony Hinchcliffe at a Trump political rally held on October 27, 2024 at Madison Square Garden as an offensive and malicious disrespect of our Puerto Rican neighbors, friends, community members, fellow citizens, and most importantly, fellow humans. And be it further resolved that we are committed to holding our state and federal leaders accountable to the values and commitments expressed in this resolution. Councilor Anderson Burgos, this was your order. Did you want to speak on this?
Yeah, I'll be brief. Thank you, Madam Chair, for reading that into the record. It speaks for itself. The resolution really speaks for itself. And, you know, as an elected official, I get into conversations about this so-called comedian, and people will say, oh, don't take it serious, it was just a joke. But here's where I am today. I am about to turn 55, and growing up, I heard enough jokes about Puerto Ricans. Enough. They're not funny, especially to a child growing up in a city like Holyoke, or any, as a matter of fact, it doesn't even matter which city. When you're growing up and your people are being made fun of, it really does some damage to that child, right? You start looking at yourself differently. So although people were saying, oh, it was just a joke, I don't find it funny when you take to a national stage where the world is watching and you make such a disgusting joke about a people, culture, the island from where we come from. We've had enough of those jokes. So this is a statement that not just the 13 members of the city council should stand by, but our citizens as well. No one should tolerate this kind of behavior, especially when you want to represent the United States of America. Now focus on the word united. United. This is what this resolution's for. To remind us all that to be united is to not let someone behind and to make fun of. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson Burgos. And I thought I was added to this already, but I would like to be added. I thought I added myself in
Please do,
City
absolutely.
Council. Would anybody else like to say anything about this before we take any
Yes,
action?
Madam Chairman.
Counselor Devine, sorry about that.
That's okay. I also would like to add my name to this, and if I can just make, because I remember listening to that night, and it was despicable. I would also suggest to Counselor Anderson Burgos that he may want to think about putting his resolution into the Holyoke Sun, because we don't normally get much press from the Republican, but we certainly do from the Holyoke Sun. So it's just a suggestion. But Juan, thank you so much for doing this, and I definitely want to sign on to it. Thank you.
Please, yes, and I agree with Councilor Devine. That sounds like a good suggestion.
Thank you, Counselor Devine.
Motion to approve the resolution?
Second.
All in favor of approving this resolution?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Motion to take up item number 8?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item 8 is a communication from Mayor Garcia regarding this special election, I believe. If I can find in my pile here. So happy there's numbers on everything. So I'm not going to read this, but this is just us. I'm just going to look for a motion to receive this communication regarding the special election that's going to take place on. Oh wait, this is a different one. This is a different one altogether. My bad. Okay, this is in line with Councilor Anderson Burgos' resolution. This is a communication from Mayor Garcia that was from November 6th, shortly after the national election. And just to give the gist of it, I'll read the first paragraph. That the city of Holyoke and our employees are experiencing a range of emotions after the outcome of our most recent presidential elections. Having been around for some time, I've witnessed how elections and the discussions they ignite can create divides within our community. Together with this council, we have worked diligently to foster unity and collaboration both inside City Hall and outside around the city. And I've been urging staff and the public to not let election results and other noise distract us from who we are as neighbors and what we have built together here in Holyoke. Was this letter posted anywhere else, Jeffrey?
It was with the packet that's made available online when it was on the city council agenda, and it's on the online packet that people can access on the website with this meeting agenda.
Okay, so I would say that items 7 and 8 really are statements by the city of Holyoke that we need to stick together and not tolerate inhumaneness.
So,
Received.
motion that the letter has been received?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion to take up item number 9.
So item 9.
Second.
So item, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item 9 is ordered that a resolution in support of eviction ceiling to promote housing opportunities and mobility. There is some info attached here. And I was in touch with Neighbor to Neighbor because I know they're doing some work around eviction ceiling. They said that they would be able to come in, someone would be able to come in and talk about the kind of advocacy they're doing around eviction ceiling for our February 10th meeting. So I was wondering if we wanted to have this discussion today or if we wanted to table it. Yes.
I would make a motion that the order's been complied with. What I'm seeing here is that in August of 2024, the legislature passed an act.
Right.
And it's Section 52, Chapter 150, Act of 2024 provides that tenants can petition the court to seal their records at different times. And Section 28 also provides that it is legal for a consumer report agency to include information in their reports about sealed conviction record.
Right.
So, and then it goes on.
Yeah.
when they can do it after winning a case, after case, et cetera. So this order was filed in 22.
It's happening.
It happened in 24,
Right.
you know.
Okay, so if we don't want to have a discussion here, yeah, we can mark it as complied with.
Okay, motion that the order's been complied with?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good evening, folks.
You too.